Hello and welcome to our first Cold Chain Live series interview with Tim Moran, the Managing Director of Lineage Logistics. Hi Tim, welcome to Cold Chain Live.
Hi Shane, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. It's really exciting. It's not quite what we had in mind for our first Cold Chain Live conference, was it?
No, things have changed a little bit, haven't they? This pandemic's really got in the way of us socialising and do what we normally do in the Federation, but still we can make the best of a bad job, I guess, you know.
Yeah, and actually, the level of response we've had for this has been fantastic, so it's been great. Can we start by, obviously, I should say you don't need any introduction because most people across the UK cold chain know who you are, but that said, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and the business?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Tim Moran. We've established that already. I'm the Managing Director and Regional Vice President for Lineage in the UK. So my responsibilities are for all the warehousing and transportation operations for Lineage in the UK and commercial activities. So I've been in the temperature controlled supply chain for 29 years now. 27 of those I was with Lineage Logistics, and for 2 of those years I've been with Lineage Logistics. Lineage acquired Yearsley 2 years ago. So it's been, quite a change. We've transitioned out of being a family-run organisation with over sort of 66 years of heritage within the business, and moved into a more corporate American temperature-controlled specialist, and it's been a real journey.
And I mean, one key thing about the change into Lineage is the extent of the investment that you're putting into the UK market. Can you talk about the expansion of Lineage?
Yeah, so Lineage has 14 facilities in the United Kingdom at this moment in time. We've got in the region of 340,000 pallet spaces. When we finished our expansion, which we're doing now, so we've actually got 3 builds happening. One here that you saw earlier in Haywood. We've got a build that's just being completed in Peterborough, and we're also expanding Peterborough, which has just been announced today in the press, with another 92,000 pallet facility, automated facility. So when these builds are done, it's going to take our total up to over 550,000 pallets of storage capacity in the UK. Still across 14 sites, but we're just building out on land that we've already got. And we've got aspirations to do more.
What gives you the confidence to put that kind of additional capacity into the UK market?
Well, if you look at frozen food and temperature-controlled supply chains, they've been underinvested for a long time. People have been building and putting space down, but unfortunately that space hasn't been going down fast enough. We came out of a global crisis at the back end of 2008, a credit crunch, watching the economy struggling. Frozen performed okay through that, and temperature-controlled logistics performed okay through that. But of course, people didn't really have the confidence to build. So there was quite a long time where really not much investment was happening into the UK temperature-controlled supply chain. And really, when the economy started to come back and people had confidence again, that time of no building has really made the available storage space quite tight within the UK. So there's a little bit catch up, if you like, that sits within there. We've had to start investing and building to catch up and to get in front of things. But it's also the nature of the business and the nature of how we consume food is changing. So online sales have had a huge difference, and there's been a lot of growth within that. Frozen food has grown. Eating out and takeaway, of course, that's not something that's happening so much today because of where we are with COVID-19. But people getting a croissant on the way to work, lots of that product is frozen, and sort of the trends within food and how people eat has been very tailored towards a frozen offering. So a long time of underinvestment has been one contributing factor, but actually the growth of frozen and temperature controlled within the industry is certainly there. And
you've mentioned it already, COVID-19, obviously that's dominated the last 9 months of our lives across the board. That plan hasn't really changed yet as a result of that. What's the actual dynamics of those short-term pressures around COVID-19?
Certainly, it's going to be something I'll look back on my career and talk to my grandchildren about, I'm sure. We were happily going along. We had investments running, we were putting space up, and then COVID-19 happened, and the world fell to pieces all of a sudden. And what we saw within our business is that the food service channels, of course, just dropped overnight. So that food service distribution, quick serve restaurants, hotels, all that type of thing just finished, and that decimated that business. But what we saw was that there was a real strong resurgence within the retail sector. So we were seeing our volumes in retail were 30% higher than they were pre-COVID. So we saw challenges from site to site about how that dynamic changed. Now, what's happened today is that the retail sector's come back a little bit, so there's runners and riders within that, but we're in single-digit pre-COVID growth in where the retail volumes are, and food service is starting to come back slowly but surely. But it's not to the levels it was. It's not to the levels it was, but it's getting somewhere near. So it's been a very interesting time.
And just a quick word on that, on the specifics of actually running that operation. The people you've got working with you in this organisation, how have they responded to the uncertainty and pressures of the last few months?
You know, we can't. So what you hear on the news is all about frontline workers and the NHS and you know, people like that going in there. You know, we've got real heroes that have turned up every day through the pandemic, have never dropped a case, if you like, never dropped a pallet. You know, they've been here all the time, loading that food out and making sure that those deliveries are happening. And when you look back and you sort of see what's gone on and you take stock of that, you can't be anything other than proud of the workforce. You know, they've really managed to cope. We decentralised everything we did and sent people home to work from home, and we did that in a week. Our IT systems were stretched to the limit, and you know, there's a huge applause to our IT team for being able to enable that so quickly that we could do it, and ultimately our customers hopefully didn't feel a pinch from it.
It's layers on layers, isn't it? Because you think about it, you know, our mind immediately goes to the drivers and the warehouse operators who kept coming to work and showing up every day, even at the height of the concern. But you say that back office as well, keeping these things moving through that time has been a real credit to everybody. Let's move on to talk a bit about the theme of our conference, of Cold Chain Live. Obviously, we've set ourselves a very grand ambition, talking about towards net zero. We've done it deliberately to be, I think, a bit provocative, to get people thinking and talking about the long term. But we absolutely have to ground that in the current and the pragmatic. How does Lineage as a business sort of see the overarching kind of responsibility around environmental responsibility?
Yeah, so Lineage is really embedded into this. You know, we're a very value-driven company. As you can see, probably, I'm not sure whether you get to see that on the screen, but you know, our values are there in the background. Our purpose is to eliminate waste and feed the world, and waste is food waste, it's energy waste, it's all types of waste. So you know, we're very embedded into looking at that. And some of the things that Lineage have done is beyond sort of incredible, really. The Department for Energy in America have awarded Lineage 2 sort of prizes, if you like, for energy reduction and how they've been approaching that. I think I've talked before about the blast freeze cells. That was one of the things that they put forward to the Department of Energy in America to get them to understand what Lineage is doing to try and reduce energy consumption.
Let's unpack that a little bit. Obviously, blast freezing is a key part of the services we provide, temperature-controlled logistics. What's the win there in terms of the work you've been doing around innovation around blast freezing?
So there's two wins. So one is energy consumption, and the other is time to freeze. So our data scientists took a problem, and that problem actually started around strawberries and the strawberry harvest in the US, and they were looking at how they could get more product through the blast cells in a more efficient way to meet the strawberry harvest. And when they looked at that, they started to analyse what was happening on airflow, and what they did was optimise these blast cells, and what that did is reduce the energy consumption and the time it took to freeze the actual product within there. So by using real data science and using real, you know, clever people, you know, I move pallets around, these guys, you know, put numbers on things that I don't understand. And they're very clever people who are just looking all the time about how we can innovate what we're doing to become more efficient.
And I guess from your point of view, in a world where it's basically our job is to find the way to get product moved as quickly and as efficiently and as cheaply as possible in terms of the operation. I guess that's a sweet spot, isn't it? That kind of data science, reducing energy consumption to reduce cost.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the driver that sort of governs how you see these decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so reducing costs, taking waste out of the supply chain, being able to offer our customers value, but also being able to offer our customers security and food security and the temperature of food security as well. So it's within all our best interests that we look at this from our business. We're a huge energy consumer. We can't get away from it. That's something that we do. We have to power refrigeration. We have to keep food safe, and to do that means we consume vast amounts of energy around the globe. Now, being able to reduce that impact and that impact on the environment is really key, not only from a cost point of view, but also from an environmental standpoint as well. And our customers are very, very tuned in to being environmentally friendly, and they want us to be environmentally friendly and be a good partner through the supply chain.
One of the things we're going to be unpacking through this week of our conference is this idea of how you define the net zero challenge. And I think what you've just there has really got into that dynamic. Is on the one hand, there's the challenges that you can take on as an individual or as an individual company and take responsibility for what you're doing, but also how you fit into the wider ecosystem. And I guess what you're describing is Lineage's relationship with its customers is at the key of being able to achieve those sorts of bigger picture, long-term goals and environmental responsibility.
Of course, Lineage is the largest temperature control logistics provider in the world now. We have facilities all over the world, and that's growing really every day. In some ways, it feels like it grows every day. And what we're looking to try and do is bring our customers along across this journey and be able to provide service for them globally. Now, to do that, we have to also sit and understand what is important to our customers. And what's important to our customers is food security. What's important to our customers is environmental challenges. All these things are really, really important. They're sometimes as important as moving pallets across a loading bay and delivering it. And the agenda is way more than just what's the service level of moving those pallets. How accurate are you? That's a given. We're always going to be accurate doing that, and we employ lots of systems and lots of checks and balances to be that accurate. But the key to these deep relationships with our customers is hitting on their priorities, and their priorities sit just outside the physical attributes of moving temperature controlled product around the world.
Do you feel, I think that there is a shift going on over the last few years in the customer base to understand that the environmental commitments that have been around for a while, whether you're a retailer or a manufacturer, whatever else, a consumer-facing brand, talking about your environmental credentials, turning that into actual measurable change within their own owned operations, but also within their supply partners, and they're starting to understand the importance of partnering for the long term and understanding what the costs of that are and what has to be done to differently in order to achieve those goals. Do you feel that's we're having those sorts of conversations now?
Definitely. There's a seismic shift away from a very transactional relationship between a customer and a service provider. For too long, it's just been about price and do I get my goods delivered, and if those two sort of things match, then tick. I've got somebody they want to work with. That people are more interested about the carbon footprint. People want to understand that actually I am taking food miles. Food miles has been something that's been talked about for a long, long time, and trying to reduce food miles. But reducing food miles is reducing carbon. And strategically placed facilities that offer more direct distribution out to the customer base are always going to be lesser food miles. And that's greener.
Is that sort of one of the fundamental reasons behind the major investment you've made in Peterborough?
Absolutely, yes. So if you look at the predominance of cold storage, it's in sort of Midlands to north of the UK, and there's a reason for that. One is land's quite a bit cheaper up here, manufacturing heartland, so this is where stuff used to get made, and doing that is absolutely right. Except most of the population live in the south, which means we've got to move that product down. As we know now, 50% of our goods roughly comes from abroad anyway. So actually we're seeing product come in from the south, and it has to move all the way to the north to move to 60% of the people living in the south again. So you've got product coming through southern ports that's moving north to then go south to get delivered to customers. And sort of cold storage has been, what's the best way of describing it? Historically northern rather than historically southern. And that doesn't really match the flows of where product comes from and where people live. So Peterborough is a great place. It serves the ports of Felixstowe, it serves Dover to Calais, it serves the London ports. It's got a great catchment area, and it's able to distribute out into the country. That size of facility is just not seen in the south. But it's been a shift in thought process for service providers to do that, because land prices are more expensive. So there is a cost to build down there. You know, there definitely is. It's not as cost effective as finding land in the north of England. But there is a trade-off.
And so moving on then to, obviously you're building a lot of new space right
Yep.
now, and so you are very much at the decision-making point around sort of the construction standards and installation values and
Yep.
all the different elements and automations decisions around what you're going to put into
Yeah.
facilities. How does environmental considerations, sustainability considerations fit into your decision-making around those things?
No, it's a huge part of what we do. You know, we've got to construct things that are there for the long term. And what we know is that the price of electricity today isn't going to be the price of electricity next year or in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years. So what we're always looking at is looking to be as cost effective as possible from an energy consumption. And that means you've got to get the most thermally dynamic insulation panels. You've got to put in the most robust refrigeration systems that you can that are designed to work in that space to the optimal level. And we spend lots of time working with our partners in refrigeration and our builders to understand how we design out anything that is suboptimal and make that work for us in the.
And I think I know from our conversations throughout how much you're thinking about this as a long-term play. This is a long-term investment. These facilities are going to be a service for this country for the next 30, 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you look at the cold storage market today, and there's facilities that are still there from the 1960s and before. You know, and they are still trading and they're still out there, and you know, they do an important job within the food supply chain. However, I think, and we've talked about this before, that in the future, the spotlight, you know, if there wasn't COVID and there wasn't Brexit, the streets would be full of people marching up and down saying, you know, we've got to look at the green agenda further. You know, we know that there's a distraction from that at this moment in time, and being in an industry that is so important because of food, because we're sustaining food, being in an industry that's so heavily reliant on energy, whether that be electricity and of course diesel for delivering goods on trucks, we've got to be thinking long term about this, because at some point government's going to legislate. You know, that net zero challenge sits there. You know, 2050 exists, and how we fit into that and how we are able to demonstrate that we're doing everything possible to be as energy efficient as we can be is a really important thing. We're never going to be net zero. We can't not use energy.
There is one other dynamic within that, which is about how we generate electricity. And so there could be, so we're certainly going to be using a lot of energy forever, because that's the way you keep stuff cold. We can potentially generate energy. Do you see opportunities in that area around generating your own power to across facilities?
Yeah, so there's opportunity. You know, we've got £8 million worth of solar sat on the top of our facilities, and this year's been quite good for those solar panels because we've had quite a bright, sunny year really. So they've really been generating quite a lot of electricity for us. However, they generate less than 10% of what we need. And in truth, probably less than 5% of what we need. There are opportunities, certainly, I think, in the future to be able to look at how we can generate electricity ourselves. You know, look at Ashley over at McCullers in Ireland. He's put his digestion plant next door to generate electricity. You know, and things like that are really interesting. We've looked at windmills before. Really difficult to get. People don't want windmills. in their eye line, but they're a great way of generating electricity. And again, nobody wants us to have an aerobic digester at the side of our facilities, because they're not the nicest things to have. But people have to start thinking about how we look at that for the long term to try and understand how we generate more electricity. And I think those are the key parts that probably fall into those questions. But I think government needs to help us get there, really.
Yeah, it's part of a bigger picture. Otherwise, it's very tactical, as you're saying. Correct. It's about what you can do in a particular place. Can we move on to talk a bit about the Federation and the work that we do as the Cold Chain Federation, obviously, as president. You've been the president throughout the time that I've been here, yep. And we've worked very closely together around the mission we've got to transform our organisation. How do you see the role of industry collaboration, that horizontal collaboration between people that move and distribute food, to achieve these sorts of big picture goals like the net zero goal?
Yeah, no, I think it's really, really important. I know we've talked at length about this for many time, for a lot of time. And I think if we look at the Federation as it was, that it was a group of individuals who came to meetings, and the idea of the Federation was to get people together and to share best practice, and that never happened, and I think we've not managed to turn that fully yet, but I think there is more collaboration within what we're doing in the Federation today, because we're talking about the topics that really matter. Like this net zero, those are things that we can talk about within the Federation, and we can understand and try and get together on it.
What's your hope for the next sort of year of the Federation? What do you hope to see us achieve over the next sort of 12, 18 months?
I've been really proud of what we've achieved so far, and it's probably going to be difficult to get more proud about how we've actually moved forward. The face of the Federation today is one that is welcoming. We're seeing that by new members joining. There's been people who haven't been part of the Federation who are coming on board. That it's long overdue. I think what COVID has done is stopped some of that expansion for us, has stopped some of that networking, and I really hope that the new people who've joined are going to come and join us to and be able to sit down and talk and and be part and feel like members of the Federation, because that's what we are. We're a membership organisation, and we need people to feel that they are members and are getting value from us. And it's something I bang on about all the time. It's what have you done for me lately? The Federation needs to have found a way of connecting with its members, and I think you've done a fantastic job through COVID to maintain that, and the Federation has had more relevance, I think, than it's had for a long time. What do I hope for the next 12 months? Well, I think hitting on key subjects like this is really key. The guidance that we're putting out now, the way that we're actually looking to lead the industry by guidance and best practice. The really important things. Nobody has stuck up for our industry. We're the people who are moving the food around. We're the people who are keeping the shelves stocked. We're feeding a nation, but we're the unsung heroes of that, and raising that profile and leading the industry with guidance. It makes me proud to be part of that, and if we continue to do that and we continue to grow on that, I think we're going to have done a great job.
Brilliant. Tim, thanks a lot for today, and thanks a lot for all the support you've personally shown to building what we've been all about over the last year.
It's been a pleasure.
So that brings us to the end of our first leader interview. If you're watching this in the week of this, when we release it, 2nd of October, then please take part in our workshop, which is on Friday at 11 a.m. If not, then please go on the website and look back at all the resources we've been releasing both this week and throughout around our topic of achieving net zero. And we look forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback and ideas as we start on this path and journey towards meeting the challenges head on.